23. Voices pierce the darkness. Maybe it'd be better if you just raise him from the dead and be done with it, lad. He lives. Although, how that can be, I cannot possibly say. Control wanted the voices to go away, to leave him to his eternal peace, but they would not. I will try something else. Maybe that can stir him. You should be using some of that power to be mending yourself. I will survive. A pinprick of light pierced the empty blackness, irritating the mercenary. Kentrell tried to cover his eyes, but pain suddenly coursed through him. He moved, Humbart. He reacted. Will wonders never cease. The light became insistent, glaring. It burned into his mind, forced him to look at it. With a moan, Kentrell opened his eyes. Daylight greeted him, but it had not been the source of the glaring illumination. That proved to be the flaring light of an ivory dagger, a dagger held in the left hand of the necromancer Zael, the only hand remaining on the necromancer. Zael's other arm ended in a bound stump just above the wrist. The pale Rathmanian looked even more pale, save where his face had been scarred red. His clothing hung in pieces, and he looked as if he had not slept in days. Welcome back, Captain, the spellcaster commented in a tone that for him almost bordered on the connival. Lo, the dead rise, chuckled the voice of Humbart Wessel. Zael, Kentrell managed to gasp. His own voice came out as more of a dry, hacking sound. You're alive. The necromancer nodded. You are as surprised about that as I am about finding you. How is that you are down here among the ruins when you had to climb up to the top of Namir to stop Juris Khan? Kentrell forced himself to turn. As he did, his lower chest and left shoulder ached terribly. Be careful, Captain. You suffered broken ribs and a dislocated shoulder. It can be healed a little better when I myself have recovered more. It will take time. Ignoring him, Kentrell looked at all that remained of the fabled Yurei. Even less seemed to be left standing than when he had first come across the place. The outer wall stood in fragments, and the roof of nearly every building within had collapsed. Yurei now looked less like a haunted legend than like just one more ancient city, abandoned to time and elements. And of the palace, only the crumbling foundation yet existed. Tell me what happened, Captain Dumont, the necromancer urged, if you do not mind. Of all the people, Zael certainly deserved the truth. Accepting a flask of water from the spellcaster, Kentrell went into as much detail as he could recall from the initial ascent to the pursuit, Gore's sacrifice, and finally his own descension to the end of the Shadow Kingdom's threat, even at the cost of his own life. As he spoke of Atana, the weary fighter's throat closed, and his eyes moistened. But he continued his tale until his companion knew everything. At the end, Zael nodded sagely. Perhaps a true archangel watched over you, Captain. You timed it very well, especially where I was concerned. Another few seconds and Khan's demonic children would have torn me to shreds. Only the knife and some skillful play acting by Humbart preserved me for that long. What did he do? Kentrell asked, glancing at the skull. Only pretended to be himself, their lord and ruler, calling to them to halt because of the necromancer was needed for a spell. Did something like that with Khan too. Maybe I should go on stage after this. That brought a hint of a smile from Zael. Since neither our good host nor his corrupted people could see him, the idea bought a few precious seconds both times. Even still, the horde got over its confusion quite quickly. He raised the bound stump, as you can see. Is it all over then? Has the danger passed? Yes. Yurei and her people are at rest, and the gateway to hell is sealed once more. Before I found you, I searched the area for any traces of corruption. There was none. Kentrell peered up at the sky. By his reckoning, it had to be just after midday. But on what day? How long was I unconscious? 2.5 days. I found you just before sunset of the first, and I have done what I could. 2.5 days? Fighting the pain, the captain pushed himself up to a sitting position. How are my legs, Zael? They appear unbroken, but you would know best. Testing them, Kentrell discovered that although they ached, he could at least tolerate moving them. If I can stand, I want to get out of here. I don't want to sleep within the walls of this place another night. Zael frowned. It might be more prudent to wait another day, or I want to leave. As you wish. I understand. With some effort, the necromancer rose. He put the skull in the torn pouch at his side, then moved to help the fighter. As Kentrell stood up, something clattered to the ground near his feet. Curious, he cautiously bent to pick it up. Atana's face looked back at him on the bridge. What is it? Asked Zael, unable to see from his angle. The captain quickly folded his fingers over it. Nothing. Let's go. They headed toward the lush jungle. As they slowly walked, the necromancer informed Kentrell of his plan for them. We can make use of your old base camp tonight. Then tomorrow, I will guide us safely to some of the others of my ilk. They will be able to heal both of us, and then you can be on your way. An outsider won't be a problem? Zael chuckled slightly. Not one who faced down Diablo himself. This will be a story they will want to hear. Through the broken wall they stepped, leaving behind the light among lights forever. However, once beyond the former limits of the shadow, Captain Dumont made Zael come to a halt. Give me a moment, please, he requested. In silence, Kentrell looked back at what had become the end of both a dream and a nightmare. The wind howled through the crumbling skeleton of the lost city, sounding like a lament for those who had perished. I'm sorry for those of your friends, the necromancer said as kindly as he could. Kentrell, however, had not been thinking up much about them as someone else. It's done with. Best to be forgotten. Forever. He turned away once more, and they continued their trek. Yet, as he walked, Captain Kentrell Dumont's hand slipped surreptitiously to a pouch on his belt and dropped the brooch inside. Behind him, the elements renewed their patient task of slowly and inevitably erasing the last memories of the Kingdom of Shadow.